Welcome to the Michelle Mission. 2 Men, 1 podcast, every black film ever made. My name is Vincent Williams, and I'm joined as always by my partner.
Hey, holla at your boy. This is Len, a.k.a. the Bat Tribble.
And as we continue into Doc Timber, what is
Doc
it?
Timber?
What is it? Doc Timber? Doctober?
We're going doc to school.
Doc to school. In September, we're going to talk about documentaries. Can I tell you my real issue? Can I tell you my real issue?
What's your issue?
In my heart, I feel like it should be Doctober. Like, that just sounds so much
Doctober
smoother.
sounds good.
Doctober sounds
Yes.
good. I mean, obviously, October we devote to horror movies and Halloween, but Doctober just sounds so much better.
It definitely flows off the tongue better.
If you'll notice, this is the first time I've had to say it, so it just jams my brain up. So, Doc to school.
Yes.
But in my head, I'm thinking Doctober.
I don't care what you say in your head.
In my head,
on the show,
it's Doc to School. We continue Doc to School with a documentary from 2012, A Band Called Death.
Yes. So for all of you tuning in because you thought that we were going to be reviewing Little Richard, I Am Everything tonight, so did we. Our guest, Lisa Cortez, is the first guest who was able to book herself on every week of the month and then be unavailable.
Look,
but she will be here.
Lisa is busy.
She's busy.
Lisa is busy.
But she will be here next week.
Yes.
To
God
review.
willing, the creek don't rise. God willing, the creek don't rise.
She'll be here to review Little Richard, I Am Everything, her feature-length documentary.
Yes, her choice and her documentary.
Yes, this was her choice. So she's going to get critical about herself.
It's good, spoiler. I'm glad it's a good documentary because that'd be awkward.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's good.
Okay.
It'd be awkward if it wasn't.
It'd be challenging.
It'd be challenging, but
I would look forward to that though.
Yeah, well,
I'm a sadist.
You're good.
But tonight
we are doing A Band Called Death from 2012. But before that, how are you, Lynn?
I'm doing great, Vincent. How about yourself?
I am also doing well. Always happy to be in the company. And good evening to one and all. The missionaries joining us this evening.
Yes. Each and every one of you out there. Vincent?
Yes, sir.
I have some news. I don't know how this is going to hit you.
Okay.
But
this is real-time news, y'all. I'm actually learning this news right now, whatever this is.
I have made a decision.
Okay.
In regards to my movie going.
Okay. All right.
As you and all of the missionaries know, I am a huge devotee of pretzel bites.
Yes.
When I go to the movie theater.
Yes, the FBI has been informed.
I have gone to pretty much all of the premier movie theaters here in the Philadelphia area.
Yes. Okay.
And I have had pretzel bites of all shapes and sizes and ages, as it will be.
Okay.
And I have come to the conclusion that there is only one theater in Philadelphia that I will now purchase pretzel bites from.
And that is because?
That is because that one theater, which I will proudly proclaim, is the AMC movie theater in the Fashion District in downtown Philadelphia.
Watch all that free advertising. Go ahead.
That's it.
Okay.
That one has pretzel bites that are more of an artisan nature.
Yes, artisanal pretzel bites.
Yes,
sure.
And they are delectable.
Okay.
They give a different sauce besides just plain old cheese.
Okay.
It's got like a sweet tang to it.
Okay.
They give you 2 sauces.
Okay.
Each,
all right. Well, 2's better than 1.
And the other one has a bit of more of a, I guess, kind of a slight ranch type taste to it.
Okay. All right.
But I love them. I absolutely love them. And now when I go to the theater there, I don't order one helping. I order 2 helpings.
2 orders of pretzel bites.
Of those pretzel bites.
All right.
Yes. Every other movie theater, I will no longer purchase pretzel bites.
No longer pretzel bites at those.
No, because I can't
theaters.
trust them.
Can't trust
They're
them.
not the same.
Not the same.
They don't have the same consistency.
It's not consistent.
It's just I've been so disappointed. Sometimes they're burnt. Sometimes they were there from the day before
because no one ordered them.
Or I was there, got there late for the last show.
Sure.
In fairness, but I can't stand them. I can't trust them. Mm-hmm. So I will no longer purchase pretzel bites at the other movie theaters.
Okay.
Now, I don't really like popcorn. I like popcorn, but I prefer not to eat popcorn in the movie theaters because it gets in my teeth.
Well, that's true. That is what popcorn does.
So, what now do I get at the other movie theaters?
You're going to sneak in pork chops.
I'm not going to sneak in pork chops.
Okay.
I'm asking you, what should I get? I'm asking the missionaries. I'm not a big nachos guy, and especially not in movies. I don't like I'm not big on, unless it's like dinner theater type of place. I'm not big on food that could possibly cause a problem, and nachos might cause a problem and stain all over my clothes.
Okay, fair enough.
So what should I get? Should I get M&Ms?
M&Ms.
Like the M&M peanuts?
I enjoy M&Ms. Any of the various flavors.
Okay, so maybe maybe some M&Ms. M&Ms might be good.
M&Ms might be good.
Or licorice. I've seen people with licorice.
You've seen
Twizzlers.
With sure.
Twizzlers. They've had Twizzlers, and I've seen them. I've heard them.
Okay.
Behind me. With the Twizzlers.
Okay, maybe some Twizzlers.
Should I do some licorice?
Sure, have some Twizzlers.
You don't have any type of recommendation of your own?
I just like popcorn, and then I asked you if you wanted to sneak in pork chops, and
I'm not going to sneak in pork chops.
So
I don't eat pork.
Yeah, okay, all right, okay.
Well, very little.
Very little pork.
Very little pork.
Maybe some curry goat. Maybe some curry goat. Maybe sneak in some.
Who do I look like? Tinsel and Thyme?
Just sneak in some curry goat.
I'm not going to sneak in some curry goat.
Maybe some curry goat. Not some curry goat.
No. Next, you want to say maybe a salad? Should I bring in a salad?
I don't know. Cream of wheat. Maybe you can
cream of wheat.
Maybe bring cream of wheat in.
Well, maybe I should bring in some cereal.
Bring in some cereal.
Some peanut butter Captain Crunch in a bag.
Peanut butter Captain Crunch and like a carton of milk.
Not a carton of milk. I wouldn't do the milk. I would just
eat it dry.
Dry out of the bag.
Just dry cereal out of a bag.
With peanut butter Captain Crunch.
Which is 100% not something that a serial killer would do.
What? You've never eaten like dry cereal?
Once again, dear missionaries, this is happening in real time. No, Lynn, I haven't eaten dry cereal. Wow! You know what? Sure, Lynn, bring some dry cereal.
We'll ask the missionaries.
I know, we're not doing this.
What? LaDame says
y'all can email it.
LaDame says that licorice is the perfect movie food.
Y'all email Lynn at what's your account? Like your personal Lynn account.
Mission@gmail.com.
Oh yeah, don't be cluttering up our email with this.
No.
Y'all email Lynn. This grown adult man who needs to figure out what to bring with him or eat at the movies.
Look.
I'm not,
S.R. Watts, 1986 says dry cereal hits Honey Nut Cheerios. See, I wouldn't do Honey Nut Cheerios because then I feel like a baby. Because that's what babies, when you take out your baby to the movies. Have you ever seen the people with their babies in the movies? They hand them Ziploc bags of the Honey Nut Cheerios.
I hate you so much because you're making me say, I doubt it's Honey Nut Cheerios because I don't think babies are supposed to eat honey. And I don't know whether or not it's real honey or not, but usually you give babies Cheerios. And I'm so angry that you've pulled me this far into this conversation.
I'm pretty sure it's Honey Nut Cheerios.
I can 100% guarantee you that no parent is giving their infant Honey Nut Cheerios because every pediatrician in the past 30 years has said you can't give a baby honey.
What do you mean you can't give a baby honey?
You can't give a baby honey.
Why not?
It's something about the honey. Like I honestly
something
don't.
about the honey.
It is something about it's like honey and shrimp and like there are the foods you can't give infants and honey is one of them.
I can understand shrimp, but honey?
Honey, you can't give babies honey.
So you can't give them anything with honey? I think this is the logical question.
You can't give babies honey.
I gave my daughter honey,
I mean, in your defense, I think this is something that has happened in the past. I mean, well, Camille's 18, at least the past 20 years.
Okay, my daughter's 30.
Right.
Okay.
Like,
right.
like, you know, when we were kids, they were just, right. It's just like, I joke all the time. Like when I hear people say, oh, you know, people our age don't have peanut allergies and this, that, and I was like, oh, no. People our age had peanut allergies. But by the time we got to kindergarten, it wasn't no more of them kids with peanut allergies.
That's very true.
Like you met other kids when you were 5.
They kind of weeded out.
Yeah, so you know.
That's very true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
But sure, Lynn, what do we land on?
Sean Simmons is recommending Captain Crunch or Apple Jacks.
Okay, all right.
So can you give kids Apple Jacks? That doesn't have honey.
I guess, sure.
I'm just asking.
I mean, I don't know. Yes. As long as it doesn't have honey in it. I just didn't want anyone to be taking child rearing advice from a film podcast and start giving their kids Honey Nut Cheerios. Like I had to jump in real quick. Kind of like they couldn't have a Human Torch on the Fantastic Four cartoon because they thought the kids were going to set themselves on fire. And that's how they got Herbie the Robot.
But it actually was a lie. That's not what it was.
Is that not true?
That's not true. It's not. That's apocryphal. It's not true. What it was is that
it's something about the licensing. The human. You're right. I knew that.
Yes.
When you were saying it, I knew that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a great story. They didn't want people to set themselves on fire.
Of course, the apocryphal is a great story.
Yeah.
It's probably apocryphal about honey with kids.
Okay, no, I've actually had pediatricians say that.
Whatever. Anyway.
Do not give your baby honey if you're listening to this.
No, don't give them honey.
All right.
But Honey Nut Cheerios.
Oh my. Can we talk about
ready to move on?
Else?
All right. Thank you for all your suggestions, ladies and gentlemen. For God's sake. I might hit you up on the Apple Jacks.
Oh yes.
And the peanut butter Captain Crunch. I actually like peanut butter Captain Crunch mixed with Rice Krispies. So if I eat that dry, that would be kind of cool. But I probably would need a spoon because the Krispies are smaller. So I'll just do the peanut butter Captain Crunch.
This is my life now.
Thank you, Vincent. Mm-hmm. All right.
Glad I could help.
Hey, we got emails.
Hey.
You know what that means?
Missives from the missionaries.
Missives from the missionaries.
What else is going on, Lynn?
We have emails, Vincent.
Ooh, missives from the missionaries. Ooh. Missives from the missionaries.
We got a email, Vincent, from our good friend Michael Sykes.
Hey, Michael.
He is moving through all of our past episodes.
Absolutely. Glad he is
while
still
staying in
them.
touch, watching in real time.
Excellent.
This email is titled Mahogany Movie and Motown.
Okay. All right.
Motown.
All right.
Hello, Vincent and Len. I heard the reviews that y'all did on the Mahogany movie starring Diana Ross and Billy D. Williams.
That's right.
It's a good movie. I just want to talk about how y'all mentioned that it was the beginning of the end for Motown.
Yes.
Michael says, I disagree.
Okay.
Motown still had some steam.
Okay.
In 1975, The Temptations had 2 hits, Shaky Grounds and Glass House. Diana Ross had the theme from Mahogany. Mm-hmm. The Miracles, without Smokey Robinson, had Love Machine.
Yes, they did.
From 75 to 78, Motown still was pulling out hits with Marvin Gaye's I Want You album and Live at the London Palladium, which both went gold with hits like I Want You, After the Dance, and Got to Give It Up, which were both #1 on the R&B Billboard charts. Y'all also forgot to mention the Commodores with 2 gold albums like their 1976 Hot on Tracks and their 1977 self-titled album with hits like Just to Be Close to You, Brick House, and Easy. Mm-hmm. and a platinum album called Natural High, which was #1 on the R&B Billboard for 10 weeks with the hits 3 Times a Lady and Too Hot to Trot. And let's not forget Rick James' Come and Get It, the platinum album that included You and I and Mary Jane. Also Stevie Wonder's Songs in the Key of Life, which won the Grammy for Album of the Year, and other artists that they had also, including Switch and Tina Marie. The beginning of the end for Motown was after, when The Wiz came out in 1978, and it clearly showed. They went on a hit drought after The Wiz from 79 to 81, with Rick James and Super Freak and Smokey Robinson's Being With You sort of saving them in 81. And DeBarge tried their best, but after The Last Dragon, Motown was dead. All of those are good points, Michael. I would contend, though, that when you said this was the beginning and the end of Motown, you were talking more specifically about the movies.
Well, no.
Oh, you were talking about the music?
Was actually talking about the Motown machine.
Okay.
And he actually, because if you remember, if I remember, and I'm going to try and think about Mahogany and what I would have said about Mahogany, where my whole thesis of Mahogany is that this was Berry Gordy channeling his argument to Diana Ross, basically. Like through Billy D. Williams, you know, fame is nothing without someone to share it with, and you know, the theme Mahogany. I think what happened, and it bears it out, like I was thinking about it, each thing he named, like go back down that list. Like when you think about the Motown machine, the big thing about the Motown machine is, of course, Berry Gordy was channeling the work ethic of the assembly line.
Yes.
Where it's just peace and everybody, and you know, an assembly line. I think what happens when you move into the 70s is very much against Berry Gordy's wishes. It sort of moves into an auteur.
Yeah, because everybody's kind of got their own shot.
Like everything he just named, like the Temptations were that's the Norman Whitfield era. So, you know, Norman Whitfield is, if he's not on his way out, he's damn sure thinking that he don't need this because I'm Norman Whitfield. Love Machine, he's absolutely right. But that was basically Smokey Robinson's gift almost to the Miracles, as he said, without Smokey Robinson. Stevie Wonder.
Rick James.
Well, I haven't even gotten to Rick James, but Stevie Wonder and Marvin Gaye had moved into their tour period where I'm doing my own thing. I think what our argument is that when you think about Berry Gordy's vision for Motown as an assembly line, it had all fallen apart. It had all fallen apart. I mean, even you know, like Switch is the brainchild of Jermaine Jackson, and I think his wife. I think both of them brought Switch in. We talked about Rick James, and you know, God knows Rick James was always his own thing. The Commodores, you know, I think you could, but even the Commodores were like a self-contained unit, and they came to Motown
fully formed.
Right, like they didn't really need Motown to do nothing for them except provide a studio
and distribution.
So,
okay,
there's that.
All right, cool. All right, well, thank you, Michael, as always, for your insightful and.
But boy, that's a fascinating period, though.
Yeah.
Go ahead. All right, go ahead.
All right,
go ahead, because you know.
Yeah. All right.
I'm good.
You good?
I'm good.
All right. That was all right. That was our email. We did get one, and this might be just a little fun, just off the top of your head.
Off the top of my head.
We got an email from our associate producer, actually.
Okay.
Maurice.
Hey, what's up, Mo?
And he suggested a top 5 category. But I thought it might be fun just to throw it out there. Top 5 movies that starred Denzel Washington.
Okay.
But easily could have starred Samuel Jackson.
Oh, that's interesting.
The first one that came to my mind thinking about that was It might have been actually an interesting one to see Samuel Jackson play was John Q.
Has Samuel L. Jackson, well, there was Eve's Bayou, and then his child got, I'm thinking about roles where Samuel L. Jackson played a father.
That's really Eve's Bayou.
And what's the legal one?
I guess
where
technically
his daughter
he's
gets murdered?
That was
The lawyer movie where he's real sweaty with Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of that one. I know what you're talking about. But technically he's a father in Shaft.
Yeah.
But I mean,
yeah. Yeah, Samuel Jackson as a father. That might be interesting.
I thought that might be a different mode.
Yeah.
A different speed for him. It might be interesting.
Speaking of Shaft in action, Samuel L. Jackson.
A Time to Kill, La Dame.
Okay.
Told us a movie.
Equalizer might be interesting with Samuel L. Jackson.
Okay.
The Equalizer films.
Okay. Aaron Fry in the chat is suggesting Ricochet. He could have played Ricochet, but I think Denzel.
He's a little sexy in Ricochet, isn't he?
Yeah. I think that Denzel fits that a little.
I
bit
love
more.
Sam Jack, but you don't really get sexy.
Not often.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to work for it.
Yeah. So character work.
I'm trying to think of what else he could have done that Denzel did.
That wacky lawyer movie that he just did a couple of years ago.
Oh,
JP Israel or
yeah, with the hair.
Yeah.
I see. Samuel could have done the look. I don't know if he could have done the character.
Oh, I 100% think he could have done the character.
Really? Because he's
kind of quirky.
Yeah, I don't see Sam don't. When is the last time you saw Sam really do quirky? Besides the look quirky.
I think he's quirky. Quirky Sam.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I think he's pretending to be quirky, but he's actually just deadly in Jackie Brown.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not. See, I don't. And I'm not. You're right. Probably as an actor, sure, he probably could do it, but I don't necessarily.
Caveman's Valentine. He's not quirky.
Nope.
He's actually off. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. This is a great question, but this is also a question that is kind of time consuming.
True.
Like this is a sit down and think about it. Like Dylan gonna have to order some wings. Kind of question.
Dylan is always down for wings.
Down for wings.
Do not tempt Dylan for wings.
Right.
He will bring some wings in here.
Right.
Deborah Battle has pointed out that maybe he could have done Glory. Him in the Denzel role in Glory.
I don't know if he has the vulnerability that the young Denzel has in Glory.
Yeah. And even now that I'm thinking about it,
like it's a different, you get a different dynamic between Samuel Jackson and Morgan Freeman than you do with Denzel Washington and Morgan Freeman.
What do you think about now? Mind you, this of course would have been younger, but him in A Soldier Story, in the Denzel role. I know he did A Soldier Story on stage, but I don't know what role he played.
No, he didn't. Or if did he?
I thought he did. Maybe I missed, because so many people.
No, because I think spoiler. I think young Sam Jackson. You start to think, oh yeah, this guy could be the murderer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the thing about Peterson is that you have to almost wonder, like there has to be some mystery.
I saw somebody say maybe Stephen Biko. I forgot that Denzel played Stephen Biko.
He could do Stephen Biko. I can see that.
I can see.
Like he's got the heft.
Yeah.
The actorly heft.
Yeah, that might be interesting.
Yeah, that might be interesting
for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw Samuel Jackson on Broadway.
Okay.
In The Mountaintop.
Okay.
Alongside Angela Bassett. He was great in that as Martin Luther King.
I just saw him in the piano lesson either last year or the year before last.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
How was that?
He was good.
Well, that's August Wilson.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
you're going to eat that up.
So,
All right. All right. So that's our emails.
All
ladies
right.
and gentlemen. There is no official top 5.
Okay.
For our September Doc to School.
Mm-hmm.
Because what we're doing in September is that we are celebrating 50 years of hip hop.
Okay.
By returning to the year of our movie to see what happened in that year in hip hop. Now, up to now, we've been actually being very direct and looking in September of that year.
Mm-hmm.
But starting today, we're going to veer off a little bit.
Okay.
Because not much happened in September.
Not much happened in September 2012.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in 2012,
Okay.
quite a few things happened
All right. What's going on in 2012?
in hip hop. Oh, and Dylan, I told you that we were going to go from 5 to 1. We're going to actually start from number 1. All right. We're going to actually start from number 1.
All right.
And number 1, Lil Wayne. You know Lil Wayne?
I
One of your
do.
favorite rappers?
Easy. Go ahead.
In 2012, he officially passed another favorite of yours, rock and roll legend Elvis Presley,
Okay.
with the most appearances on the Billboard 100,
Good for him.
with 109 appearances, 42 as a solo artist and 67 as a featured artist.
Okay. Good for Lil Wayne.
Yeah. I would have never imagined. I knew that coming out, when he came out with Juvenile and everybody from that camp, which was the Cash Money.
Cash
camp, right?
Money. Taking over for the non.
I could tell that he was the person that had the most charisma.
Okay.
Even though he was the youngest one.
Right. He was a kid.
Definitely had the most charisma. Mm-hmm. And for my money, he had the most skills lyrically.
Sure.
But I would have never predicted longevity for him
Yeah.
in the game.
Yeah.
Or acclaim and hits to the extent that he has achieved them.
Yeah. Has had quite a career.
He has. Are you a Lil Wayne fan?
No.
Okay. All right. Number 2.
All right. Number 2.
Number 2, at 2012's Coachella Music Festival, Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg surprised the audience
Okay.
with a performance from Tupac via a hologram.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was in April of 2012.
Yeah, that was ghoulish.
It was a little...
That was ghoulish. And I'm glad that trend died, it seems like.
quickly, not soon after dying.
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
not long after she died, there was a company that was trying to put together a full-length concert of a hologram Whitney Houston.
Absolutely.
It never happened, thank God.
It is terrible. Look, we joke. I'm not really a conspiracy theorist per se, but I'll never forget. I saw a story on 60 Minutes, I think, about the economics of these musical, not legacies, but the what's it called? Their
Discography?
not discography, but their camps. That they leave behind. Their estates.
Okay.
And I'll never forget, and I'm pretty sure they were talking about Michael Jackson,
Okay.
where they talked about the fact that there are a lot of these acts, Michael Jackson being one of them. Tupac certainly comes to mind when you think about the challenges that Whitney Houston faced towards the end. Elvis, Amy Winehouse, like so many of these acts that had these challenges in their life, that if you were in charge of their estate, it was just very volatile. Like you never knew what the day was going to bring. But then they died, which automatically, by definition, settles things. And the person talking about, and again, he was talking about Michael Jackson specifically. He said, in a lot of ways, it is more profitable in the long run for these musicians and artists to be dead. because then you can control it. You don't have to worry about, something coming up and dealing with. And that whole trend with the holograms and it seemed like it was a running joke for years that there was new Tupac material for like 10 years after he died. And, like Puffy, I think Puffy just followed Biggie around and just recorded him just everywhere. Because remember, it was like 5 years after Biggie died. It was just always some new stuff. And it's just something really ghoulish about that. And I don't know if our friend Tanya Pendleton is listening. Tanya's a huge Prince fan.
Yeah.
And, I start following Tanya on social media, which then the algorithm has gotten me into Prince world.
Okay.
Much deeper than I had been. And there are conversations in Prince world about Prince's estate and Prince's vault and the economics and the ethics of releasing this material now that he's dead and what that looks like. And that hologram thing I thought was like that was when we as a public said, that's too much.
Yeah, that's a bridge too far.
Like, that's too much, these holograms. But I remember that.
It's interesting you bring up Prince because I remember not long after he passed, it seemed like I was hearing Prince's music everywhere. Mm-hmm. Everywhere that you didn't hear Prince music. Mm-hmm. Like on commercials and stuff like that. And and I sense that there's been a pullback of that a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Look, but I remember the hologram. I hated the hologram.
You didn't? You didn't like them? Not a fan of the hologram.
Mm-hmm.
Number three.
3.
This deals with another favorite of yours, Vincent.
Okay.
One Nicki Minaj.
Nicki Minaj.
I know what she means to you.
Oh, yeah. Just sit in the study and have a nice glass of bourbon and listen to Nicki Minaj.
She was actually pulled from performing at New York's Hot 97 Summer Jam because the on-air DJ, Peter Rosenberg, called her song Starships, and I quote, bullshit, whack, and corny.
Okay.
And thus, she was pulled from the lineup and did not perform at Hot 97 Summer Jam in 2012.
She was pulled because he didn't like it?
Because he said her song was...
And who was this?
DJ Peter Rosenberg.
Does he work at Hot 97?
Yeah, he's an on-air DJ there.
Okay, all right. Well,
yeah.
Well, that's something that happened.
It is something that happened.
All right.
May of 2012.
A lot going on in 2012.
A lot that happened in 2012. And May of 2012 was a sad day.
Okay.
May 4th, to be exact.
Okay.
Because May 4th of 2012 was the day that we lost one Adam Nathaniel Yauch.
Yeah.
Or better known as MCA.
Yeah.
One of the founding members of the hip-hop group The Beastie Boys.
That was sad.
Yes, he died from cancer.
Yeah.
In 2012. MCA, he founded the Oscilloscope Laboratories, an independent film production and distribution company. And as a Buddhist, he was involved in the Tibetan independence movement and organized the Tibetan Freedom Concert.
Yeah. Yeah, that was sad.
Yeah, it was sad.
Yeah, right? That was really sad.
Yeah. Were you a fan of the Beastie Boys?
I'm
a fan of Beastie Boys in theory.
And I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
And like all the hipsters, I like Paul's Boutique. Mm-hmm. Like Paul, it's like it's such a douchebag answer, but it is my answer. It's like, I don't, I like Paul's Boutique. But I love the Beastie Boys. Like, you gotta love the Beasties.
In theory.
I mean, look, they were there.
I don't put them on.
No.
I can't remember the last time I actively put on. I do not
listen to the Beastie Boys actively, and like I said, I gotta be the douchey music guy. And if I do listen to them, I'm listening to Paul's Boutique, like the hipster choice.
Yeah, but are you really listening to the whole thing?
It's a good album.
Oh, it is a good album. But
It's a great album.
It's too many skits.
It is, but and I always feel the Paul's Boutique story that they always tell, like they did all this stuff and they all these found sounds and this, that, and the other, and they're putting together this sort of groundbreaking hip hop album, and then like before they put it out, 3 Feet High and Rising came out.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Shut all that down.
Yeah, but yeah, that was sad.
Indeed. All right, and number 5. Fifth important thing that happened to hip hop in 2012, ladies and gentlemen.
All right.
Frank Ocean.
Yes.
You know Frank Ocean.
Love Frank Ocean.
All right. Well, in July, on July 4th, actually, he published an open letter on his Tumblr recounting unrequited feelings he had for a man when he was 19 years old, citing it as his first true love.
Okay.
Members of the hip-hop industry generally responded positively to the announcement, with Russell Simmons writing a short congratulatory article in Global Grind, and Beyonce and Jay-Z also voicing support.
Is this when he came out?
It's pretty much. I think it's.
Is that the year Channel Orange came out?
I think that's they're alluding to him coming out.
Yeah.
In that time.
Okay.
Which is big.
It was huge.
It's huge.
It was huge
because Frank was
it was huge.
A star, a name, a noticed star.
It was huge, and I remember that. Yeah, it was huge. And Channel Orange is easily one of my favorite albums of the 21st century.
Yeah,
like easily. So
yeah,
I'm actually pissed at Frank Ocean because I want him to stop doing whatever he is that's not music and make some damn music.
Frank Ocean, who is a member of
Odd Future,
or their full name. Do you know their full name?
I don't, but my daughter would because she's an Odd Future. She's actually a Tyler, the Creator fanatic. But
their full name is Odd Future Wolfgang Kill Them All.
Of course, why wouldn't it be?
Because why wouldn't it be? Can you name all the members of?
No, so it's Frank Ocean, it's Tyler, the Creator, it's Earl Sweatshirt, and I think I'm done.
Yeah,
that's all I got. That's all I got. And the only reason I got Earl Sweatshirt, I pulled that from my daughter.
You did.
Right.
You dug deep for that one. The remaining, the original members were Tyler, Casey Veggies, Haji, Left Brain,
of course,
Matt Martians, Jasper Dolphin,
sure,
Travis Taco Bennett,
yeah. Oh, you're right, Taco, because my daughter likes Taco. Go ahead.
Sid.
Wait, Sid the Kid is an Odd Future?
Was one of the original members, yes.
Interesting.
Yes, and later members...
Because she's in the internet.
Later members included Frank Ocean, Nakel Smith, Pyramid Vitra.
Sure.
Domo Genesis.
Yeah, why not?
Mike G. And Brandon Duche.
Hey, man, I guess those names aren't any more ridiculous than Q-Tip, Fife Dog,
or Trugoy,
which
is yogurt spelled backwards.
Right. So sure, lot of kids.
Lot of kids.
All right. Kids.
So that is 2012.
All right.
In the year of hip hop.
All right.
Frank,
because this is kind of random shit that Frank Ocean would do. Like you find out, like Frank Ocean is a huge missionary. Frank, if you're listening, please make some music for us. Please and thank you.
You don't want him to come on the show to review a movie?
I would love Frank Ocean to come on the show and review a movie, but knowing Frank Ocean, like he'd come on and want to share like his recipe for Hamburger Helper.
Okay.
But he can do that too.
As long as he's talking about a movie while he's doing it.
Sure.
We can review Friday after next. Yeah. All right. We're going to move on to 6 Degrees of D'Urville Martin.
All right. You ever hear him sing Moon River? Have you heard Frank Ocean's version of Moon River?
No, I have not.
It is achingly beautiful.
Is it really?
I don't know what it is. Because quietly, Frank Ocean can't actually sing.
Yeah, most rappers can't.
Well, he doesn't rap,
Wow.
but it is something about that boy's voice.
Some people, you get over. You know?
Yeah.
No, I haven't heard that. I would be interested in hearing that because as a rule, I like the idea of Moon River.
Moon River is a stupid song. That's what makes it ridiculous.
Well, I don't know
like
if it's stupid.
how
I haven't listened to it
How did he make Moon River work?
And we're talking about Andy Williams, right? Isn't it Andy Williams?
I think that is Andy Williams.
Yeah, it's Andy Williams that does Moon River.
Somehow Frank Ocean makes it work. And it is like you're sitting there like, I can't believe he is singing Moon River.
Well, why is it a super song?
And I'm getting
Moon River.
It's just sort of sappy and saccharine.
Yeah, that's why I like the idea of it.
Like
I think I've seen it in a movie, and I was like, okay, it kind of works.
Like
there.
you can tell a father brought home a 45 of Moon River for his kids in 1957 because they were in the back listening to Jerry Lee Lewis and Elvis, and he don't like the way Elvis shake his hips like a Negro. So he knows his kids like music. So he brought home some music for the kids. So they'll stop listening to Jerry Lee Lewis and the Big Bopper.
You think Dad was so out of step that he brought Andy
brought
Williams
home Andy Williams. Here, listen to this. Here's, I know you like music. I brought home some music. And it was Moon River by Andy Williams.
Okay.
Preview for next week. What he didn't know was that his daughter was sneaking and listening to Little Richard.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. Who we got?
All right. 6 Degrees of D'Urville Martin, ladies and gentlemen, where Vincent will have 6 films or less to connect an actor that I give him to a man who does not know death.
And who also could have sung Moon River.
Oh, yes, he could have. One D'Urville Martin.
Yes, sir.
Of 70s fame. And keeping in theme, our movie that we're going to be reviewing, A Band Called Death, features the Hackney brothers.
Yes.
Specifically, the 2 living Hackney brothers.
Yes.
Who are,
3.
Well, it's 3. Well, it's 3.
Right.
It's 3. Well, that's true.
Right.
The Hackney brothers. The Band Called Death features 3 brothers, David, Dennis, and Bobby Hackney.
Yes.
So, I'm going to ask you to connect. Do you want to connect to, let's go with a famous David.
A famous David.
Okay.
Who do we got?
So in 6 films or less, connect D'Urville Martin
to
David Arquette.
David Arquette.
Formerly of Courtney Cox fame.
Right. David Arquette. Isn't he in Scream?
I believe he is in Scream.
Yeah, he's in Scream. So,
he is in Scream.
All right, so this is how you get that. This is how are we going to get some fun to give it to Scream. So, D'Urville Martin is in I want to get to this. It's a couple of different ways.
Well, you picked the right movie because there's a ton of people in there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. D'Urville Martin is in
I think that may have been the movie where he
met Courtney Cox.
met Courtney.
Because she's in it too, isn't she?
She is indeed.
Yeah. All right. D'Urville Martin is in Five on the Black Hand Side with Dick Anthony Williams, who is in Mo Better Blues with Samuel Jackson, who was in Soul Men with Bernie Mac, who is in Charlie's Angels Reloaded or Charlie's Angels 2, whatever the sequel to Charlie's Angels was, with Drew Barrymore, who was in Scream with David Arquette.
Very good. Mm-hmm. You made it.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Very good, Vincent. Now,
Oh, yeah.
staying in theme.
Mm-hmm.
In 6 films or less, we're going to go to a famous Bobby.
Famous Bobby.
In 6 films or less, connect D'Urville Martin to Bobby Cannavale.
Bobby Cannavale.
Yes. Famous for television, but he had done his share of movies.
I was about to say, he's a TV guy.
Done a fair share of movies.
What was he in? What was he in? Is he the dude Nia Long dates in The Best Man Holiday?
No.
Okay. Why am I seeing him with black people?
Because he likes black people.
I mean, in a movie. Like, I feel like I see him in a room with some black people.
I'm sure he's been in plenty of rooms with black people. Why are you segregating the brother? I'm trying to see anything on his filmography that specifically looks like it's nothing that stands out. Oh no, he was in a movie.
What am I thinking about?
I doubt this is the movie though.
What is it?
This was very early in his career.
What is it?
Well, it's no fun. Now this is you're going to make connections from this one. Well, I guess that's the whole idea of the game. The Bone Collector.
Yeah, I'm not thinking about The Bone Collector, but that's with Denzel. Yeah, we're not going to do that one. What's he in? What's the last thing he was in?
Last film that Bobby Cannavale.
A little racist, I think. Easy.
Was that? I'm sorry. Didn't mean to be.
You'll be talking about spicy meatballs if I don't watch it. Go ahead.
He was in Sing 2.
Yeah.
He was in Tom and Jerry.
Oh my God, is that what's going on with him in his life now?
He was he was in 2 things in 2023, but both of those are in post production. And in 2022, I'm not sure if these were movies or television, so I don't want to. Okay, Seriously Red. These were both films, I'm saying. Seriously Red, he was in, and he was also in 2022, Blonde.
Oh, that's the Marilyn Monroe thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't see that. What's he in that I saw? What am I thinking about?
Did you see Sing 2?
I mean him, not his voice.
Oh. This Is the Night from 2021.
Yeah.
It's actually a very good movie.
Mm-hmm.
That you saw. Did you see The Irishman?
Oh no, I think I started. I don't know if I got to the part that he's in. Is he in there in the beginning?
He's in it a fair amount.
Yeah.
He was also in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
That's what I'm thinking about.
There's nobody black in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I mean, not Lawrence. Yeah, Lawrence Fishburne's in there, but you're right. That's not what I'm thinking about.
Lawrence Fishburne is in Ant-Man and the Wasp?
Yeah, because he plays Bill Foster.
Does he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't even remember.
I mean, we'll do The Bone Collector real quick. Just kind of give, D'Urville Martin, Dick Anthony Williams, Denzel Washington, Bobby Cannavale.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
All right, so now we got that out of the way. What was he in? What movie was he in that?
He was in I, Tonya. That was a good movie. He was in Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle.
He really is a TV guy.
I mean, he's a fair.
No. I mean, like, but yeah, he's not like a lead in any of these, is he? Like, what's his big movie? Like, what's his?
I mean, he's not a big movie star.
Oh, he's in Black Annie, isn't he?
Even though he should be.
Isn't he in Black Annie?
So that would be Annie.
But you knew exactly what I meant. You knew exactly what I meant. My family teases me because I yelled out in the theater, "The baby can't read!" It broke my heart when I found out that Annie couldn't read. The educational system in this country had failed her.
Yes, he is in Annie.
Yeah.
He is in Annie.
Because he sings.
Yeah, I mean, he's done, like I said, he's done a fair amount of music. He's in The Other Guys. He's in Blue Jasmine. The first Ant-Man, you know, he's done stuff, man.
Yeah, right. Because he plays the ex's new husband.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. There you go.
Oh, you know what you may be seeing him with black people?
What?
He's in Snakes on a Plane.
Is it other black people in Snakes on a Plane except Samuel Jackson?
I don't know, but I mean Samuel Jackson just.
He just when he's in the room, it feels like a room of black people.
Everybody's black.
Like just Samuel Jackson walks in the room. It's a room full of black people.
We all brothers.
There you go. All right. There you go.
All right. Well, 6 Degrees of D'Urville Martin.
There you go.
There you go. Deborah Battle with a fun fact. Bobby Cannavale was married to Lena Horne's granddaughter.
Okay.
See, so.
There you go. And now you know.
He may not have been in a room full of blacks.
Right. One or two black people.
He was found himself in some black.
Right. Well, you know, these famous black people, once you get to the third generation. I'm just saying. Not a lot of just chocolate black people saying my grandparent was a famous black. Time you get to that third generation.
We have traveled
throughout
this episode.
I am just saying. And that is an observation. That is not analysis nor judgment. I am just saying, when you have a famous black person, once you get 2 generations past them,
we're going to move on.
Look, man. You started it.
How did I start it?
Because you said he was in a room with some black people with Lena Horne's granddaughter. I was like, ooh, I don't know about the granddaughter. Go ahead. Observations, not judgment.
I'm thinking about all the emails we get. It's like, why can't they just get straight to the review?
Well, you put on there when the review starts. I thought you were going to put the grandchildren of somebody famous. I was like, no, they not. They not listening to no black shit. All right, that was too much. Too much. That was too much. Go ahead.
Let's continue and get into our review of a band called Death.
You ready?
Yes.
Every now and then you gotta shake it up. Now you gotta shake it up. Gotta move some furniture around. A band called Death.
Your brother showed up just in time.
It's a good thing he wasn't there for earlier, because me and him would observations. A Band Called Death is a 2012 documentary directed by Mark Christopher Covino and Jeff Howlett. Tells the story of the Hackney brothers and how the discovery of their long lost demo tape of the band called Death led to the band's newfound popularity. It is a story of family and community and the power of music. Here in our third week of Doc to School, this was the choice of Lynn Webb. Lynn, how would you like to begin our conversation about a band called Death?
This is a documentary. Funny enough, I was introduced to this documentary way back when, via the Howard Stern show.
Okay.
And which actually leads off the documentary.
There
is sound from the Howard Stern show when one of the members on the show, Artie Lang, talks about having seen the documentary.
Okay.
About a band called Death. No, I think either he saw the documentary or he read an article.
I
think he read an article. He read an article about a band called Death, and about the story of this black punk rock band that precedes what many consider the beginning of the punk rock movement.
Sure.
With the Ramones.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
In the mid 70s. So this was a documentary that had always kind of been on my radar and just never got around to watching it. And sitting down to watch this, I was pleasantly surprised at how quaint the documentary was when it starts off, because it is a documentary that is not about punk music per se. It's not about an exploration of what is punk or even doesn't even really seek to define why these black teenagers in the 70s were drawn to the punk aesthetic. I mean, it loosely touches on their origin. The three brothers, the Hackney brothers, Danny, Bobby, and the maestro of the group, David, were
Dennis.
I said Dennis. I said Danny. You're right. Dennis, Bobby, and David. They were introduced to music by way of their father sitting them down to watch the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show, and then falling in love with the Beatles, and more specifically falling in love with the idea of playing live instruments, that they basically taught themselves to play live instruments by copying all of the Beatles music. And then they were introduced to The Who. And it's from watching The Who and having this background of the Beatles in their head, that blending of those two influences is what led them to the path of music that we know of as punk.
Right.
Because it wasn't a thing.
Right. No. No.
So they basically really were giving birth to this. And I would say because of their influence, it definitely is punk, sounds a little garagey, stripped down as far as like not a lot of electric accompaniment or anything like that. But because I think of the influence of the Beatles, and specifically, the later recordings of the Beatles, like Rubber Soul and Yellow Submarine and things of that, their music has more of a, definitely decidedly a political, but more of a thoughtful bent and mindset than I have usually found in punk music, which made it all the more appreciable to me. But this documentary really is just wants to tell the story of these brothers holding up one another as they walk this path of trying to become a band. And it's a path that everybody has walked. You start in your garage. And to them, they start in their bedroom that their mother allows them to turn into basically their studio, their lab, as you were, for them to create all of these sounds, all of this music, and the story of how they create and become death, how they move from the rock, funk, soul review, or whatever the first name of their group was, to eventually to death, all because of David, the visionary, who I believe was the youngest.
Second
was he? No, he was the second oldest.
Second oldest.
Right,
because Earl's the oldest.
Second oldest of four.
Right, four boys.
Earl's the oldest, but Earl did not join the band.
No,
Earl
didn't do none of this.
Had nothing to do with
I love
death.
Earl.
And he proudly tells you at the top of the drum. And if you missed him telling you, the Chiron says, Earl, he was not in death.
This was not Earl's thing.
But it was decidedly David's.
Right.
And then his brother Dennis and Bobby, and they followed him lockstep in it. And this story about how they tried to make it is actually, a touching and also a bit of an inspiring story, because they craft together a demo, and they find somebody in Detroit where they live. They're growing up in Detroit. They found somebody in Detroit that believes in them, believes their sound. Not so sure about the name of the group. Death. It can be a little challenging. For those who don't know, the name of the band is not a band called Death. The name of the band is Death.
Right.
Not the death.
Right.
Not a death.
Yeah.
Not wrongful death. It's just death.
Yes.
Which is interesting, because the imagery that they find, which is actually very uplifting. There's a moving moment where Dennis is talking to the camera, because for the most part, this documentary is not narrated by the two brothers.
Right, Dennis and Bobby.
Dennis talking to the camera shows a framed photograph that David took.
Yeah.
That is a triangle in the sky, and all it is clouds, but you can clearly see the triangle there in the formation of the clouds. And not only that, he points off to the left, and there's a face, and David said this was the face of God, and there in the clouds is a face.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very moving moment when you actually see that, and it comes to light. That picture comes to life for you in the screen. So the story of their journey, of how they become this band, and how they almost make it, but they just can't make it. It's very inspiring.
And they don't make it because of decisions they make. Like, they stick to their guns.
They stick specifically David
right,
sticks to their gun, because they're offered that opportunity by Clive Davis. Hey, I got a deal for you guys. I'm gonna go take a flyer on you, but we got to do something with the name.
You have to change your name.
And Dennis and Bobby was like, "What do you want us to do?
Right?
Where do we sign?
That's right.
We'll change it to whatever. Your pen, we'll change it to pen. They don't care." But David, who is the visionary, who's the leader of the group, he is dead set, like, no, if they ask you to change your name, that's just the beginning.
Right.
And he holds on to his ethics, and he says, no, we don't want to change the name. And he walks away from the deal. And they never get a deal. And that pretty much begins the end of the road for the band called Death in the mid 70s, or probably goes into the 80s, early 80s. And if the documentary is stopped there, there's a lot of stuff to be mined from there. Just,
absolutely.
How these brothers still hold on to one another, lifting each other up.
Yeah.
How they don't really want to back David on this, because they quite as kept, it's like they thought that was kind of like a weird name too.
Right.
But their father taught them, you will love one another, and you will always support your brothers.
That's right.
So this is what they did. So they don't go any further, and so then the documentary follows their life after that. which is David, unfortunately, starts drinking heavily. He moves back to Detroit and he starts drinking excessively. And really, it seems like he starts to lose his mojo. And he actually seems, and I think the documentary alludes to this, he actually starts to really focus in on the name of the band.
Right.
Death. And death starts to permeate pretty much everything that he does. And he's drinking heavily. He's smoking incessantly, and he's putting on a bold face when he's around his family. But for the most part, as his weary wife kind of like details, he's slipping.
Yeah.
He's going. Meanwhile, Dennis and Bobby, they're doing what all struggling musicians do. They got piecemeal jobs. Because one of them's got a family. Dennis got a family. They're living on their own. They got to support themselves, but they're still trying to follow their music. And they luck into becoming a reggae band.
Yes.
Called Lamb's Breath or
Lamb's Bread, I think.
Lamb's Bread.
Yeah, Lamb's Bread.
Lamb's Bread.
Right.
The reggae band.
Right.
And they grow, locks a la reggae, and they become a modest touring reggae band. Like, they don't ever hit the charts or anything.
No, they do have a party favorite, Fire Up the Ganja.
Okay, that's their party favorite. Yes, they get the crowd going with Fire Up the Ganja.
Fire Up the Ganja.
But that it at least allows them to practice their craft.
Sure, absolutely. Because they make clear these are solid musicians.
Yes. This is the
I'll
musicianship. The music is not the problem.
Right. Oh, go ahead.
Because the music is Lamb's Bread is what it is. It's Lamb's Bread.
Right.
It's Lamb's Bread reggae music. Think of that what you will. But it gives them a modest start. They're touring.
I think they're still in New England.
Yeah.
They're doing well in New England.
They're doing
one of New England's top reggae bands.
Right.
There you go.
But what happens as the years go by and the digital age of music starts to pick up? Well, even before that a little bit, the punk music scene has come and gone for the most part. But people now in the late 80s or 90s are starting to kind of rediscover punk a little bit.
Right. And people are digging. These
they're digging the crates.
And record collectors and all of that.
And they're finding these pressed 45s that Death did way back when they were trying to promote themselves.
Right.
And all of a sudden, the film switches from the point of view of Bobby and Dennis to the point of view of these record collectors,
right,
who are lucking on to finding this treasure that is Death. And then through a series of very fortunate events, this music lands via MP3 before the ears of one of Dennis's sons in California.
Yeah.
And he's just living his life in California. He's going to school. All of a sudden, I had heard people talking about this group called Death. He's into kind of punk music. He's into music. So they play for him, and lo and behold, his father's voice comes through the speaker, and he can't believe it. That's my dad?
Yeah.
That's my uncle. That's my uncle. Are you kidding me? And all of a sudden, Death has resurrected, and it becomes a thing. And the arc that this documentary takes from the story of these two brothers or three brothers to the story of these record collectors refinding this music to the sons of this band finding the music, and through that finding a whole new appreciation and connection with their father and their uncles. That story that this documentary tells is so heartfelt, so real, that I could have watched this documentary all over again immediately after it stopped. And I'm not even touching on the music, because the music of Death is pretty damn good. And I don't even like punk music.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
You know, I have to say, I actually had a problem lumping this with punk. Like, I understand why people would, like, when I think, you know, every day, you know, they talked about the Ramones.
The Ramones are in here.
And I'm a fan of the Ramones. You know, you think about the Ramones, you think about the Clay, you think about this early, you know, the Sex Pistols, like early what you think, say, punk. It's energy. It, like you said, it's garage. You know, these dudes, you know, like you listen to the early Ramones, like Joey Ramone, and I'm like, you know, these, like, maybe they know 3 chords.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's really just the energy.
Right.
I think there is a level of musicianship with Death that elevated them above their peers at this moment. Like, quite honestly, they sounded more like Jimi Hendrix and Buddy Miles to me. Like, I understand the speed of it, and it's like, okay, well, I see. But there was a level of like, pure musicianship.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
That, you know, I kind of gave Death. You know, like you, I had heard of this documentary, and this documentary had made some waves, and everyone talked about it. Kind of like we've talked already a couple of, you know, weeks ago, or even just last week. I watch a lot of music documentaries, and I think the way this was advertised to me, or the way I took in the advertising, I really thought this was going to be just almost a by the numbers documentary about this lost group.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
you got the early part about them. And I think from the very beginning, the way that the film is like when the film starts and you actually see the brothers, first of all, of the 4 brothers, and I'm including Earl, 3 of them are alive.
Yes.
For the bulk of this documentary, their mother is still alive.
Yes.
Like, they actually named the band Death after their father dies in this freak accident, and David kind of becomes, frankly, obsessed with life and death. But you have these 3 brothers that are still alive. You have their mother that is still alive. And again, they were teenagers in the 70s. So these are men in their, you know, early 60s.
By the time
the documentary comes out, the love that the Hackney family has for each other is palpable. Like, these 3 brothers and their mother love each other. And I think a lot of these documentaries about these rock groups, especially the one, or about these musical groups, especially the ones that didn't get as big as they, you know, like, you know, it's like, oh, this lost group, and now we found them. I find oftentimes there's some bitterness involved between the band members. There are these very complicated relationships. You know, I haven't spoken to Chucky in 20 years, and this, that, and the other. So right from the beginning, that this is a documentary about family. And this family happened to make this music. So in a lot of ways, it is, you know, you hear about this, everything you just said. They're these black teenagers. They're drawn to this music. They make this music, so on and so forth. And there's a clear cut in the documentary where it gets to the point, it goes on everything you just said about the ups and downs, and the band doesn't work out. And one thing that I do love, and I said, okay, David, when they realize that things aren't going to work out with these record companies, and the local company that they have been working with basically say, we can't do anything for you anymore, so we're releasing you from the contract. But I thought it was very, very important, an important detail, that before they leave, David says, I want my masters. Mm-hmm. David gets their masters, and that's when they press these 45s themselves that end up out in the wild. Yeah. But it lets you know from the very beginning that the Hackney brothers or the Hackney family owns this.
Yes. Very important detail.
There's a break in the documentary after David dies. It says 8 years later. Mm-hmm. And again, if you watch these documentaries, if you watch these things about these groups that were lost and then they were found, it is kind of by the numbers. Like, you have famous people that say, oh, they should have been bigger, this, that, and the other. Okay, and you've got the famous people. You've got the record collectors, and they always look like these guys. It's like these hipsters, and they get it. Oh, and then, I collect these records, and I found this, and I was at a garage sale, and blah, blah, blah. And much like you, I thought at this point, all right, this is solid.
Yeah.
It's a solid documentary. I like it. I'm enjoying it. But I think what really elevated this documentary for me was when they start to fold in
the kids,
David's sons.
Yeah. David has 3 sons.
David has 3 sons, and as you mentioned, these are they're actually beautiful. Mm-hmm. He has these 3 beautiful sons.
Yeah.
That are living their lives. And as you said, the oldest boy is in California, and he's kind of alternative-y, and his other sons, you can tell that they're kind of like just kind of doing their thing. There's this wonderful moment where I believe it's the youngest son. They show the youngest son skateboarding.
Yes.
And he's skateboarding, and he's just free.
Yeah.
Like, we have this running joke in my crew about raising free Black children. Like, we're raising free Black children. So much of what we do and so much of what we've had to do as Black parents is we've been, disciplinarians.
Yep.
and kind of push for obedience. And, now my generation, we're trying to, change it up, give the kids space.
Yeah.
So we always say, hey, we're raising free Black children. And I actually put in my notes, Dennis has 3 free Black children. And they're doing their thing. And as you said, when his son is the one who becomes a link in this story, mm-hmm. and you get this shift from what you usually have with these stories, where this group has been excavated by these collectors, by these historians, and they're basically the object that the collectors and the historians are talking about. But because David's sons are part of the story, now the Hackney family is an active participant in this. So that once death, and then, again, death is rediscovered. Oh, we're going to reissue some things with death. Oh, we're going to do this with death. But David's sons are also musicians. So part of the way they hype up death is that his sons start a band, and their band is Rough Francis.
Yeah.
Which is a reference to their uncle.
Their Uncle David is one of his pseudonyms.
One of his pseudonyms was Rough Francis. So then they start a band called Rough Francis that redoes some death stuff. They open for death, and now it's this beautiful generational story about this family. My favorite moment in the entire documentary, I actually had a grin on my face the last 20 minutes of the documentary as the sons are going back and forth. There's a moment where Death is practicing, because now people want Death to perform, and they get a new member, and they have to get ready, and they have footage of Death rehearsing, and they're like in a garage or just a small studio, and the shot is far away, so you see Death and you see people around. Over on the side is one of Dennis's sons. He has a look of pure joy on his face.
Amen.
Watching his father
In his element.
and his uncle like they've never seen, because as you mentioned, the sons knew that their uncles were musicians, but by the time they were born, they had been through two different, they had a Christian rock band, and then they had settled on this reggae band.
I don't know if the sons knew they were musicians. They knew that their fathers were. Yeah, they do something called lamb's bread.
Right. They kind of jam out, and Dennis says, like, I love the fact that Dennis says he is a maintenance man at night. So that he can,
because that's what you do, man.
He can be a struggling musician, but then he also says, I have been able to afford my children the opportunity to go to college or not, but to kind of live their dreams. I always think one of my favorite things ever, it was I think it's on the Grind Date, De La Soul's album, where it's funny you were talking about Trugoy, rest in peace to Trugoy Dove too, and I'm pretty sure Trugoy says his dad drove a bus, and his dad hated driving a bus.
I think you might be right, yeah.
But his dad loved his kids.
So the dad
drove the bus.
That's what we do.
And Dennis talking about working maintenance at night so that his kids could have this life made me think of that. And then to see these kids, see these sons love their father. And dude, it really was, by the end of the documentary, it was actually heartwarming.
Yeah, it was, man.
So that, like you, by the end, I was team family Hackney.
Yep.
Like, y'all just keep, it's a moment where Rough Francis is performing and Dennis and his wife watch him. Oh my God.
Yeah, there's nothing like that, man. And then he starts to tear up a little bit
Yeah.
watching him, which makes all the sense in the world. There's another magical moment when they've been, rediscovered.
Yeah.
And now, they have the opportunity to eat off of their newfound fame.
Yeah.
So they want to rehearse whether, their first live show, really.
Yeah.
So they get somebody from Lamb's Bread, who happens to be as equally skilled of a musician as them, to play the guitar, which was David's role in the band. And they talk about it in the films, like when he started to play, they just had to run out of the house and out of the studio, and leaving the new guy thinking, like, what did I do wrong? But they were like, yeah, like, he was too much like David.
Right.
It was just like
Right.
David.
And as they said, that was the first time they had played this music since, he said, 1978. A correction, my brother, appropriately enough, in the corrections department, says that was Bones Malone telling the story on the Grind Date about his father driving the bus. So, I hate driving the bus, but I love my kids.
Right.
There you go.
And who did you say it was? You said it was...
I thought it was Trugoy.
It's a better story with Trugoy.
I mean, look, man. I just love those kind of stories.
It's a better story.
Yeah, so... But yeah, it's a good documentary. It's a good music documentary. Like, if you love these stories about these groups that are rediscovered, and as time goes on, it always seems like we've discovered everything that can be discovered.
Until
But you love these stories of these groups that are found, and how you kind of put together, at some point, one of the participants in the documentary, and I forgot who said it, said, this is why we go to record stores. This is why we still look up things. And this is a good documentary about that. But I think this is a great documentary about the power of family.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's a very good. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I'm sorry I waited so long to see it, frankly.
Me too, but the beautiful part about it is that even though this is a documentary that is over 10 years old, it doesn't age.
No.
It fits in very well.
And Death and Rough Francis are still making music.
Still making music. I like that they're still making music. I think what I liked even more was that all of this was foretold by David.
David said it.
He said it.
David said
That's
it.
why he said, hold on to the masters.
Yeah.
Because somebody...
And we're not changing the name.
We're not changing the name.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to come and they're going to like it.
Yeah.
Trust.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they did.
So I guess the question is always, would you recommend the documentary A Band Called Death?
I would not only recommend the documentary, I would recommend you going out and finding Death so the world can see. I believe their one album, at least their one album at the time of the documentary. They may have released another one. But that album, Death So the World Can See, is the album of songs written by David Hackney. I don't think he's the lead singer on all of them, but he writes the bulk of them. I would recommend that people see this film. I think that it is an education about a moment in time in music, about practitioners of the craft of the art, and I think especially when you can today, when you could turn on the TV and there is ad nauseum 12 solid hours of the best bad news your heart can stand, ladies and gentlemen. Something like this is a very good palate cleanser.
I agree. I very much think this is not only a great documentary, but it is actually heartwarming. It is actually heartwarming. And the group Death, especially, you know, that album, as you said, I think if you like that pocket, that early 70s kind of rock, funk, you know, like frankly, you know, like Buddy Miles or Eugene McDaniels or like that kind of, you know, mandrill, like this, like I understand, oh, it's proto-punk. Okay, it's proto-punk. But I really do think it fits more neat. Like Vernon Reid from Living Color was on the documentary. And I really wanted to hear him talk more about the musicianship of Death.
Yeah,
like,
this is not about that.
Like it's real. Like as you said, this quietly does not spend as much time on the music as you would think, and you know, frankly, I think it's better for it. Mm-hmm. But the music is really interesting. So definitely see the documentary. Streaming service of your choice. Look up Death. I haven't gotten a chance to listen to Rough Francis yet, but they're on my list because, I love the footage of them boys playing. Boy.
What Rough Francis was a Christian rock.
No, Rough Francis is the Three Sons.
So that iteration of Rough
Yeah.
Okay,
That's the Three Sons, and they kept making music. So you know, like I love them boys making music. So
amen.
But yeah, absolutely. Strong recommendation.
Strong recommendation, ladies and gentlemen. Before we tell you what we're going to be reviewing next week, as if you didn't already know, if you were here at the top of the show, so that means we're just going to. You could all listen, but this will be primarily for Damon. I invite you to follow the Micheaux Mission on the social media of your choice, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, at Micheaux Mission. You can always email the Micheaux Mission at micheauxmission micheaux'ed@gmail.com. That is the only way that you can tell us what is on your mind, sadly, but that is it. And it has been proven effective. So continue doing so, please. You can always go to our website, themicheauxmission.com, hit swag, and check out all the cool designs and gifts that we have available for your buying pleasure by way of our good friends at T Public. The Micheaux Mission is also a proud member of The Podglomerate, thepodglomerate.com. They make podcast work such as ours, which is filmed live from Young Junk, Philadelphia's premier video podcast palace. Go to thevideocontentfactory.com and check out all of the cool suites they have available for your renting pleasure right there at Young Junk HQ. You can't have this one. This one is branded. A lot of people don't believe me, but this is actually a tattoo on the wall. This is our studio.
I think that's just called a painting. I'm sorry. You said tattoo on the wall.
Have you never heard of the improv concept of yes and?
I'm just saying.
You're not saying yes and.
It's just weird.
Yes and.
It's just a weird.
Just yes and.
See, that's the concept that makes people think that you're a serial killer.
And.
Like, who says that?
Yes and.
Okay, go ahead. I'm just saying.
Next week, Damon, here on the Micheaux Mission, we will have a very special guest.
Yes, sir.
You thought you saw her last week. You probably believed you'd see her this week. Mm-hmm. But no, ladies and gentlemen, you'll see her next week.
God willing, the creek don't rise.
Producer, director Lisa Cortez will be here with us here on the Micheaux Mission as we review her 2023 documentary, Little Richard.
Yeah.
I Am Everything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Next week, here on the Micheaux Mission, where we will lead off the show with Vincent and Lisa having a very interesting conversation.
Ooh.
You don't want to miss it.
Don't want to miss it.
You do not want to miss it. Until then, he's Vincent. That's Dylan. And I'm Len. And in parting, we say,
we'll see you when it's time to meet again.